Where we go one, we go all. Welcome everybody to another CIRF report. This one probably going to be the mother lode of all CIRF reports. There's a lot of fight and army in the energy, and I'm going to show you how to navigate this very tumultuous period. We're in the second of 3 eclipses. Energy is absolutely crazy. It's been crazy as manifested out in the real world. Well, guess what? It's going to get even crazier. And we have the triangulation right here. Might as well just... Yep, a little bit early on that one. All right. Look at all this astrology. We have another planet going retrograde, this time Mercury. We have, so now 5 retrograde planets in the midst of some opportunities with Mars and Neptune, with some sextiles in there, and then a solar eclipse in Cancer as the sun is going right into Cancer. This is happening, this new moon eclipse is happening right at the cusp of Cancer. And when's the last time we saw that eclipse, the solar eclipse on the cusp of Cancer? When was that? That was in June 21st, 2001. Holy cow. What was that? That time period was just several months preceding 9/11. Big change in world history. And it just so happens that in this case, in this year, 2020, we have something showing up in September right about that same time. I think it's the 9th, September 9th. Don't quote me on that, but very close to 9/11 anniversary. It's Hillary Clinton's going to have to testify. That could be life-changing as well. So we're in this time period. We're in this 1 week where it's some crazy energy and it's seeding something, okay? So look at what we have. We have the astrology is kind of like a dreamy conflict. So you got Mars and Neptune together in Pisces, so very idealistic but dreamy, and it's conflicted. Then we have ego adjustments, so there's some inconjuncts with the sun, and we have a new moon, but an eclipse. So there's 2 cycles there. There's kind of a grand scheme, long-term cycle, but there's also this monthly or bi-monthly cycle called the new moon. Now, down here, so in general, I mean, there's a lot of protectiveness, especially when we talk about Cancer, especially when we talk about what's happening with Mars. Those are the 2 biggest things. So protectiveness is down here, and the I-Ching says army, so we're defending. It's like organized defensiveness or something. We'll get into the I-Ching later. And then the Dreambot has, you can't wait to show you this Dreambot. This thing's all over the place. This is a collective unconscious, and it's showing us something that looks like the hunter and the hunted. And which one is it? I don't know. It's like the continuum, the hunter and the hunted. And there's also this element of breathing and even time potentials. Very high congruency. We're back to being very congruent. If you see out here, this little excess on the Dreambot outside of the astrology, that's like the breathing thing and the time potentials. Those things don't belong, but they're not the primary. The primary meme is the hunter and the hunted, and so very well overlapped with the astrology and the I-Ching. It might even be higher than a 0.85, but I thought I'd be a little bit conservative. Let's get into the Dreambot next. And welcome to the Dreambot. I'm not going to give a whole lot of explanation for the new folks, but I want to welcome you here. This is probably going to be one of the longer duration of CIRF, so I want to really get to it quickly. The collective unconscious has everything to look at here in this segment. The top word is mask. Interesting that we haven't seen that before. This is clearly day residue from these mandatory masks or suggested masks and everyone wearing masks and all these different kinds of masks. Look at the surge score, 42. That's unprecedented. It's very, very high for a surge score. So that's a significant there. And what what sort of meme has been arising from this mask or from the events in general is I can't breathe. And guess what? We've got difficult, we have refreshing, breathing, survive. And then we have underwater. It's kind of hard to breathe underwater. So I'm not saying that it's all I can't breathe in those red arrows, but it's about like either breathing and not breathing kind of a thing. So yeah, take it or leave it. The blue arrows is all about like some sort of time. You got Monday, Tuesday, summer, June, and November. Are these time markers? These are June and November. Now, just so you know, it is very unusual to see something like November showing up. Probably has to do with the day residue of everyone's hammering home November. No, what's in November? The very critical elections happening in November. So that's why dreamers are seeing it this far out. Why are people dreaming about June? Normally you see the month showing up around June 1st, June 2nd, June 3rd. To see that on the 16th and that high in the run, that's pretty unusual. So take that or leave it. But you hardly ever see Monday and Tuesday that high, and you hardly ever see them together. So that's all interesting. I don't know what to make of that, but other than like time and maybe some time potentials. So maybe some flags in the time or potentials of time. I'm not sure. You take that as you wish. The big meme here is the hunt and the harvest and the acquiring. So you've got things like menu, caught, feat, survive, taste, picked, master, completed, bank. You know, like bank is a verb. We're banking. We're bank on. You've got bank. I guess actually that'd be a noun. You've got bank, and I'm thinking of like food and harvesting, and it goes along with that. Not necessarily money, but money as food would be appropriate here. All right, so you know, you don't have to agree with me, but it really has that flavor of harvest, but it includes like hunting in there. So you include all that together, and I'm thinking that you've got the hunt on and the harvesting and the acquiring. Now, I do propose this linguistic set, and I like this one, but I don't think it has to do with this week compared to the I-Ching and the astrology. I don't think this linguistics set, number one, has to do with this week. I think it has to do with the summer. So dawn, summer. So the dawn of summer is refreshing, breathing, caught, feat, survive. I don't know. It's almost like we're all on the run. But also, there's this word of refreshing. And so I'm taking this as a very positive thing. The fresh air, breathing, maybe running, maybe we're surviving. I don't know. I take it more as positive than negative, but I could be wrong. And I'm definitely thinking this is more of in the summertime. Are we thinking that there's going to be a need to survive? Or are we going to say that there's a need to be hunting and harvesting? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know how to read that. This is a very confusing Dreambot run. So let's get into the astrology. Sorry for taking so much time on something that is confusing, but I thought it was important to put that out there. Now, if it wasn't confusing and convoluted enough, take a look at the astrology. Just our overview. We have a few planets that are going into retrograde. This is Neptune towards the end of the week. We have Mercury already as of tonight showing up. This is if you're watching this on Wednesday night. I'm trying to get this out early, by the way. Mercury is going to go in retrograde. Then we have the sun going in Cancer, getting much more protective and homebody, as if we haven't been at home already for the whole spring. We have the end of the ego's war. That's at least done. So where's all this conflict coming from? Well, Mars is basically still conjunct with Neptune. That's where a lot of this comes from. They're still within the 8-degree orb. And it's showing up as a direct overlap with the I-Ching. So it's definitely a prominent feature. We have Mars sextile Pluto. So a lot of opportunity there. Sextile represents an opportunity to fight for some sort of transformation. I think a lot of us know what that could entail. And then Mars sextile Jupiter. That could be a very positive. A lot of these things can be very positive. The sun here has to adjust to the governance. We're going to see that. Let's go ahead and look at the day one. Oh man, it's a really packed chart here. First thing I'd like to point out, and this is Thursday the 18th, is this big channel of energy, all these trines. That's Moon and Venus trining down mainly to Saturn. And the sun eventually is going to have this. But we are looking at easy energy between harmony and beauty. And then the moon's got representing emotions and maternal and protective. And so we've got that easy energy over to law and governance. So maybe we start healing, maybe we start harmonizing governance and law. But what else is Saturn? Saturn's kind of maybe hardship and chiseling. That's really appropriate to the what we're going to find out in the I-Ching. But anyway, a lot of energy there. Then we have Sun in conjunct Saturn. So like I mentioned earlier, Sun is the identity and making adjustments to the law and governance. And then the other thing I'd like to point out that's going to be here all week is this, as I mentioned, Mars conjunct Neptune. They're only 4 degrees off, and they're all sextiles over to Pluto, Jupiter, and Saturn. We've been focusing on these planets for so many weeks here, and there's opportunity here. And it's a fighting sort of opportunity. It's a fighting like a dream, fighting with an illusion. Maybe it's escapism, fighting. Maybe it's a martyr. We talked about Mars in Pisces, where kind of like self-sacrificing is the Pisces energy. So, but we're extra idealistic. That's for sure. Who hasn't seen that? We're extra idealistic. We're extra polarized. We have dreams worth fighting for, perhaps. And what are the opportunities? The opportunities are the backward transformation of governance and law, maybe a return to a real bona fide republic, hopefully. And then finally, we're looking at Mercury going retrograde. And that is as of the 17th. So that's the day that I'm publishing this. As of noon, it went station, and then on the 18th, it'll start going retrograde, and it will go until July 12th, and it will stay in Cancer the whole time. And eventually the sun will conjunct with Mercury, but not this week. That's later. All right. As on Friday, you can see that because the moon has progressed, it's actually cleaned up a lot of this junk in here. And it starts being a little bit more clear. What's important here? Well, the sun in conjunct Saturn that we mentioned, that's still a prominent, and that's going to be prominent the whole way. We have Mars conjunct Neptune with its opportunistic sextiles. That's going to be there the whole week as well. Now we have the moon in Gemini now, and passing Venus. So this is the early part of Friday. Is the main themes are, the main focus is Mars and fighting for that dream. You might be fighting as an escapism, maybe idealism, etc., maybe martyr. Might be seeing that, but in an opportunity sense to the reversing transformation of government and law. And then the last thing I want to point out here is that Venus, especially conjunct Moon, which is the earlier part of the day, is trine to Saturn. And so we might actually be romanticizing laws and structure, and not in sort of a dreamy way, but in a sort of a passionate, almost beauty way. You're seeing the beauty in it, romanticizing about it, and you can even throw in love. Maybe, as a possible scenario is that we're seeing these anarchist movements or anti-fascism movements. We're going to see that Possibly with this energy, you possibly understand that at least how that's laid out doesn't seem to be working. And so we might be returning to more of a romanticizing the way it used to be, possibly. And, maybe not. I don't have to be right here. Just throwing out some possibilities. On Saturday now, the moon's going to go into its terminal phase towards this eclipse new moon. And the sun, meanwhile, is on the very last portions of Gemini on the cusp, and the eclipse then will be just inside of Cancer. But as the moon goes into its terminal phase, the emotions have got a lot of adjusting to do to these what we mentioned earlier. And then moon, more importantly, has got this square over to dreamy Mars and idealistic Mars. And so your self and your emotional body are looking to the future, because we have the North Node. North Node represents future. Normally, it's more like a karmic kind of existential future. But nonetheless, hey, the time thing was really important in the collective unconscious. So I think this is a really important thing, a really important connection, is the North Node, and that this eclipse is happening directly over the north, or not directly over, but very close to the North Node. So it is very future oriented, and it's very karmic in terms of our kind of existential ideal moving forward. But we're not there yet. Moon is still in its terminal phase, and we are emotionally disconnected because of the square, disconnected from our ability to carry out or push forward our higher dreams. So in this terminal phase on Saturday, the 20th, we're kind of like in a dead zone, not in terms of you're just dead, but I think you're going to be held either to one feeling. You're going to be really helpless and feel like you need to be doing something, but you can't figure out what it is. Or you're going to be in this kind of like a give up kind of thing, where it's kind of like a void of, you don't know what needs to be done. You don't have that feeling that it needs to be done. It just kind of, you see that it's just the moon's only 6 degrees away from completing its cycle. So it's just kind of like, just kind of like let it ride for that last period. That's really what that could feel like, especially in Gemini. So anyway, Gemini being adaptable and curious, and so it's just going to cut your moon. Emotions might just be cutting its losses. The rain right now is the mind and logic. That's Gemini, and that's soon to change as the sun goes into Cancer. But let's talk about that now. This, I think, is interesting. Before I scroll down and show you the chart, look at it's the 21st, and so we have Father's Day. We also have summer solstice, or very close thereabouts. And we also have, check this out, the sun and the moon go conjunct at 0 degrees Cancer, 21 minutes. Interesting, right? 21 minutes is the same thing as the day. I don't think that's a coincidence. And then it just so happens our last eclipse of this nature was in 2001. So what else do we have here? We have the North Node. Let's talk about North Node is only a couple degrees away. Less than, just a little over 1 degree away from the eclipse. So this is basically over the North Node being in Gemini. And Gemini is about very logic, rational, adaptable, curious, witty, that kind of thing. It's the future. Maybe we're sarcastic about the future, depending on how much contention is out there in the air. But we also have the sun and the moon are actually just barely into Cancer. So we're looking at more of a protective energy, a very maternal energy, faithful, caring, and maybe even homebody. And it's so ironic because we've all probably, or maybe a lot of us, are real tired about being at home. So I'd be really interested to see if that sticks, that kind of tendency for Cancers to just be back in their homes or want to be in their homes. I don't know. check that out for yourselves. Comment below if this whole thing, if you're tired of being at home and then you find yourself wanting to be at home, well, that is a direct match of the energy after the eclipse has happened, or at or after the eclipse. Also, this eclipse energy, both the sun and the moon then are in conjunct over to Saturn. We mentioned that earlier, but we're going to have to make adjustments, emotional adjustments, ego adjustments to law and order and structure. But what else is Saturn? It's heartache, good challenges. But it's not there to just cut us down. Saturn is there to make us stronger. And that right there is getting really close to the solution. We're going to be chiseled this week. And this is one of them. Saturn is there, is forcing us to adapt. And then we still have that Venus energy, but, and then of course, Mars and Neptune are still there conjunct. One more thing in terms of the eclipse energy that is happening here. The part of fortune by definition is going to be on the eastern horizon, rising and then yes, on the left side of the zodiac is where the ascendant is. This is the east side of the zodiac, and it just so happens that Aries is rising. So it's like a brand new cycle, and by definition, the part of fortune, the way it's laid out, is right on the horizon. So the new moons are very fortunate. And in this case, it's Aries. So being a little bit more dominant, warrior-like, egotistical even, this is favorable. This is fortunate. You take in all of the Aries energy and you're making this as part of the solution for maximizing the tropical influence of the eclipse. In addition, you have the Chiron pretty much very, very close to the part of fortune and the ascendant. So Chiron's rising at that time. What does that all mean? Well, it's going to be very fortunate to be putting yourself on the line to helping others. And in doing so, the old metaphor or analogy for Chiron is the warrior who, that's what's interesting. What's on the horizon of zodiac is Aries, and Chiron is a warrior as well. So he gets hurt and he figures out that he can only heal himself when he starts to heal others. And that's on the horizon. So be thinking about how you're going to be doing that for other folks, is helping them in order to not just to help yourself, but Aries loves to be a little bit selfish. Chiron figures out that selfish doesn't heal him, and he has to be sacrificial and helping others, and in doing so helps himself. So that's all on the horizon as the eclipse is happening, by the way, at 1:40 a.m. Now, of course, that really depends on where you are in the world. That's not a global phenomenon. It just depends on what zone you're in and that kind of thing. So probably going to be a new cycle, a grand new cycle of nurturing, faithful, protective is probably a big one, especially with this contentious energy that's out here otherwise. All right, so have fun on Sunday. On Monday, things get a little bit easier as the moon is still in Cancer, so very maternal. Cancer is home to, the moon is home to Cancer, is the ruler of Cancer. And we have a lot of trines over to Mars and Neptune, and so it's easy to perceive threats. This is emotionally easy to fight. It's easy to emotionally invest in a dreamy fight or an escape from fighting or fighting for a cause or very idealist. Trines are not always positive. It's just making this energy very easy. And that could be a bad thing in this case when you've got emotionally charged, dreamy fighting or idealistic fighting. And then moon is opposing over to Pluto and Jupiter. It's expansive transformation. That's a really that's a really appropriate alignment just after a brand new moon eclipse. All right. And then on Tuesday, the 23rd, the emotions shift. So now we've got a Leo moon. Moon's not really all that excited about being seen and about being in Leo and needing to be recognized. But nonetheless, that's what the feeling is. But we have a semi-sextile, a sextile, a square, a trine, and a whole bunch of oppositions. The emotions are all over the place on Tuesday, the 23rd. They're not consistent. They're sporadic. They're unreliable. And then, of course, we've got Neptune going in retrograde, and he's going to stay in Pisces. He's, again, the ruler of Pisces. But now we're kind of bringing our old spirituality back. We're kind of regressing and rethinking the way that we have approached our dreams, our mysticism, our spirituality, our ideals, that kind of thing. So we're relooking all that starting on Tuesday, which that makes a lot of sense going into Moon in Leo, needing, emotions all over the place, but in Leo in particular, emotions needing to be recognized. So you're going to go through this whole Neptunian relooking things, and then that's going to cause emotions to get all disturbed. Then on Wednesday, the big news is that Mercury retrograde in Cancer is sextile over to Uranus. So there's an opportunity for some real changes to be, backward logic, not in backward as in a bad way, but kind of looking in the past, regurgitating and chewing on old events. But, Uranus isn't all about old. It's about new insight, new change. And so the new change is there, but you're going to be using old insights, old protective logical insights from the past in order to learn. That's the opportunity from that change. All right, folks, let's turn this off and get into the I-Ching reading. Yeah, I'm already at 27. See, I haven't even started the influence. I'm not going to apologize, though. We'll just keep on going. Look at this. The influence during this week. The main influence is hexagram 7, earth over water, army, organized, discipline. The most successful leader is not the one who triumphs on the battlefield, but the one who is able, through strength and discipline and inner power, to achieve consolation without spoiling or spilling blood. Likewise, in any large organization, key virtues are discipline and conscientiousness. Even with an excess of external discipline, unpopular wars are seldom winnable. When life is in balance, evil impulses are checked by human decency. Remember that the true leader captures the heart of the people by articulating the clear vision that binds them together. In the realm of government, a good relationship between army and state is critical. Isn't this crazy how this is the energy? I'm already going long. Let me continue reading. Solidarity is essential for success. Where we go one, we go all. The wind excites 1,000 different instruments. Each song is played in its own way. Upon there is conflict, individuals rise up in revolt. The abysmal water stirs below the receptive earth, portraying how custom and duty can erode your sense of loyalty. So traditions are going to be in question here. The army symbolizes a collective force, whether in love, business, or professional goals. You may need to establish a plan of action or strategy. Participating in the collective force requires balancing individual needs with the respect of others. Perhaps you've been isolating, and it is time to return to more social interaction. Well, that's kind of bizarre because after that Cancer eclipse, we might be feeling like going back into our shell or back into our home. So that's a little bit different. But let's look at the lines. Let's get through this. Carrying corpses is holding on to non-essentials and wasting resources. The imagery of this line shows an army led by improper leadership. Interesting. Advancing and winning, but what is won has no value. They are carrying corpses in the sense of advancing without a goal into an empty town. What does that sound like? To me, that sounds like Seattle. There's either no or improper leadership. They're getting advancing and winning, but it has no value. And they're only getting those winnings, it seems like, because the government's supplying that help. But, you can interpret that however you wish. Line 3, misfortune follows if you overestimate your capabilities or underestimate your weaknesses. Be certain that you and those around you are playing the role for which is best suited, and you will overcome challenges. Now I'm going to keep on moving to the solution. I want to rip through this because that master slide is really important for us. Hexagram 46 is the solution, pushing upward. The emphasis is on upward motion, a movement from obscurity to influence. This reading suggests a period of promotion and prosperity for you. Now, I don't interpret that prosperity as financial, though maybe it is. Make a sincere effort to apply a determined effort against the forces of inertia by bending around the obstacles that arise. I'm going to get to that in the following slide. Willpower and self-control are necessary to manage growth properly. But an inner enthusiasm for life is what drives it. One more thing, or a couple more things. Ascending vertically suggests the rise from obscurity to a position of power because of your sincerity. So we know that greatness in this case, in this week, in terms of ascending vertically, in terms of pushing upward, we have to be genuine. We have to know what our ideals are and our values and go for them. Pushing upward alone, you achieve success through perseverance. So perseverance is going to be a key. Thus, you can transform the devotion following your inner drummer into greatness. Sidereal. Let me get the thing here. Now, I've got a couple of them. We know that this week would not be contentious necessarily without Mars. Now, of course, you've got Sun and Moon going into Cancer, so you kind of got maybe a little bit of protectiveness and defensiveness, but the aggression is going to be coming from Mars and Neptune in the idealistic Pisces. So I'm going to include both of them in this discussion. This is where it's right on the cusp. It's hexagram 15. But interesting, our solution's not much of help because it's right on the cusp of Taurus and Gemini. Now, this one is a little bit more clean cut. The Mars and Neptune, Mars is right here, so hexagram 36, and solution is going to be Pisces. I'll put all that together in this final slide. I'm just whipping through here, so we're not taking too much time. 15, this is where the eclipse is happening. Hexagram 15, the gate of extremes. Isn't that great? That's incredible that we've got the eclipse is in the Rave Mandala of gate of extremes. This is going to be an extreme energy. It is the gate of the aura and is the self that is magnetic. It determines the rhythm of the environment. Through the gate, the possible extremes are lived out. Then on the Mars side of things, this is the gate of crisis. Great. So we have the overall influence is like protecting, defending, fighting, surviving, etc. And now this one of the solutions is the gate of crisis. This is where the Mars is. This is where our outward energy is, our yang energy. The potential of recognition through feelings leads to the possibility of change. No gates are under greater pressure than these. The darkening of the light, that's definitely a crisis. Do we see a crisis in this week? I don't know. The outcome is often destabilizing for the individual and for others. Do we have probably some more destabilizing times? We can see that the cabal is trying everything they can to destabilize the election happening in November. The ultimate role is to be a witness, to remember and reflect. The shift of feelings determines the ending of a cycle, nothing more. But this can only be recognized through awareness. This is our juggernaut solution, by the way, because we get into Pisces as the solution, is being a witness, remembering and reflecting, recognizing through awareness. I'll get to that here in a second, but hold on to that. The energy overwhelms this possibility, and change becomes either something that is dreaded or embraced and fuels a life of expectations and inevitable crises. All right, guys. Let's get to the solution slide, and I have separate. Oops, hold on. Doop. All right, there you are. There's the influence. It's mother protecting child, so nurturing, but protecting the aggressor, defending, protecting. We'll throw in there the hunter and the hunted. This guy's the hunter and the wolf. And so that's the energy, that's the influence. And let's go slide down to the solution. All right. Now, first of all, we have I-Ching 46. That's the pushing upward. That's the blue circle. We have the Rave Mandala. The eclipse happens in hexagram 15. That's the gate of extremes. We have the Mars is in hexagram 36. That's the gate of crisis. Remember, that's the Rave Mandala. Then in Sidereal, remember we chose Pisces. That's the idealistic, transcendent part of us. That's the spiritual, psychic, and aware. You definitely want to avoid escapism. That's what Pisces like to do. They like to self-sacrifice. I would put in there martyrdom. I don't think that's the part of Pisces that we really want. I don't think we need that. Pisces can tend to be very wishy-washy, so you want to avoid that as well. So in the middle, this red arrow signifies the triangulation, and it's the sincere effort to apply determined effort against forces of inertia. Let me read that one more time. That's directly out of the I-Ching. Sincere effort to apply determined effort against forces of inertia. So this is about kind of a Plutonian kind of change, rehabilitation, ending of an old cycle, beginning of a new. We see that confirmed with a Cancer eclipse. Remain flexible, adaptable, but rise. This is not about just kind of taking it and turning the other cheek. This is remaining flexible and adaptable, but rising into it. School of hard knocks, possibly. That's the crises in the extremes. School of hard knocks is learning through this. It's learning by the transcendent and observant awareness. That's bringing in the Pisces. So becoming the observer, becoming transcendent, using your awareness to learn through this cycle. Remember the Saturn piece. Saturn's not there to just cut you down at the knees. Saturn is there to challenge you so that you hone your skills, get sharper, get stronger. All right? And that's what we're doing here. Persevere and follow the rhythm of natural extremes. So what I'd like to do before we finish our last sentence, it looks like I can't do that. Oh well, never mind. A prosperous crisis means not like money. Remember me reading that earlier? The prosperous crisis is about being a better person, a sharper soul, sharper tools at your disposal, and more knowledgeable afterwards. And it's about learning. And that's arguably what this whole lifetime is about learning. But this learning is going to be maximized this week. And you're probably going to get that provocation, I'm guessing, and you're going to be asked to be very emotional. But you now know that we need to rise up out of that. That's a transcendent view. Get into the stadium seating and get out of the conflict itself so that you can observe enough to develop good awareness of what the learning that you need to have through that crisis, through that extreme. What is your own personal learning? And while you're learning, rise up, rise through, adaptable around the hurdles, around the Saturn obstacles, if you will, remaining flexible all the while, but learning and adaptable. Sounds like a lot of Gemini in there as well. Luckily, we've got plenty of planets in there that are allowing that influence to take place. So you can be flexible and adaptable. All right, guys, it went 10 minutes long. I hope that this was fruitful for you. What I missed was I wanted to show you this. Persevere and follow the rhythm of natural extremes. I have a video where I'm showing you the pendulum, And this is the IM2 model. That's what I was going to show you, but I'm not. Well, let me, hold on. I might be able to do it. There. Can you see that? Okay, let's see if we can put it on repeat and start as I talk. In the old models of the Tao, it's you want to stay here in the middle, and you want to ride the middle road. Well, what this new model is about living the extremes. And in today's CIRF report, it's asking us as part of the solution to find the natural extremes and be good in those. This is exactly what the IM2 model is. It's about increasing your creativity, increasing your life satisfaction, giving yourself better feeling of well-adjusted to the world. Both sides of this model, that's the yin side and that's the yang side, nice and bright and bold over there, dark and dreary over in the inside. But this model is called the IM2, and if you go to interzension.com, you'll be able to see that you can get some IM2 coaching, which is exactly what this CIRF report is about, is persevere and follow the rhythm of natural extremes. It's about teaching you how to live in the extremes without going overboard, without living life to the fullest without feeling regretful afterwards, if you will. So following the rhythm of both your body, the natural extremes, and what the existential environment is showing you, and then living it to the best of your ability. All right, everybody, thanks for being here. We'll see you next week. Hopefully this massive energy will start slowing down. But remember, we've got a lunar eclipse coming up on July 4th. So give it another couple CIRF reports. We'll be back into a very similar heightened energy sort of situation. All right, I'm out of here. Thanks, guys.